Hey, how are you? Hey, Hinda, unmute. Unmute yourself here. Can you unmute? There you
Cut
go.
off. But if you hear the background, they're drilling in our building.
For oil or what?
No, they're undoing the planks on they've been doing concrete restoration. So now they're drilling off the big things on my roof and on the floor under. But I think Marilyn said she'd come on. I don't know if you can hear us that well or we can hear you.
That's all right. So how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Did you get vaccination?
I'm going for my second one on Tuesday.
Good.
Bruce just got an appointment. It took him forever.
His first.
Yeah. It's Friday. And I have spent tons of time on the computer trying to get him one. So
I'm getting my second one on Friday. Marilyn got her second one already.
Yeah.
So
she's not 65, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she looks great. I didn't think so.
Yeah. You know, I like the vaccine, so I'm going to try and get a third and a fourth and a fifth shot if I can.
I didn't think so. I just read an article from J&J, and because I get all their mail.
Oh yeah,
but they think it may be a yearly thing.
Okay, well, the J&J is only 70%, I think, something
it's
like that.
70% against others, but it will be.
Hey, Marilyn.
It keeps you from getting real sick. That's what they say.
Well, that's good.
For hospitalization. It's like some people get the flu, but they were writing that because of the changes that they may have to tweak the vaccines every year and just give them vaccine. It's
well,
like
you know,
get a flu shot.
I get a flu shot. I got a flu shot earlier this year because that's all that was available. Hey, Betty.
Marilyn, you have to unmute.
Yeah. Did you get the second shot, Rabbi?
Friday. Now, I got a busy weekend. We have two services on Friday, one at 6, you know, it's going to be in the parking lot. And then one at 7, a regular one at 7:30. I'm getting a shot. Originally, it was scheduled for 8 a.m. down in Jackson. Now it's been pushed up to 3:45, so I don't know how I'm going to feel. I told the cantor to be ready to do the 7:30 service. I hope I can make the 6. And I have a bat mitzvah, a Havdalah bat mitzvah on Saturday. I just hope I don't have a reaction.
Some people do. Some people, I have friends that got it, felt nothing.
Yeah, my first one, I didn't feel anything.
I didn't either.
Second one, there's a question mark. Let's just pray that we'll be the lucky ones.
But they said you just take Tylenol and drink tea, and it's like a mild flu.
A day or two, you should resort to rest. If that happens.
So, can you hear the kids over there? That's nice. We got 100 kids in the building right now.
Really?
Yeah, for the preschool. Can you hear them?
It's slightly. Wait till you hear our.
Yeah, well, it's quiet for us for a minute, Hinda, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll see.
Maybe they're taking a lunch break, Hinda.
Yeah, I've had that during my meditation. We had our air conditioning unit in the ballroom replaced a week before last, and they were making a lot of noise. And you know, that's really I do my broadcasts from the sanctuary, but I'd go in and I'd say, guys, take a 15-minute coffee break.
Yeah.
Or find something else to mix the paint or do something, whatever you're doing. It's going to be quiet. But they were good about it. So we're looking at some business ethics. Marilyn Adani and I had a discussion last week. There's a lot.
I think Betty's on mute. Are you, Betty?
Are you? Betty's on mute. You can unmute yourself.
She's talking. She doesn't realize she's.
You know, a lot of, well,
Good morning.
she-
There she
Oh,
Okay.
now we hear.
so,
Hi,
I didn't
Betty.
realize I was.
you know, there are, I mentioned to Marilyn last week, you know, some people, when they think of Judaism, they go, oh, it's all about rituals. It's all about things like kashrut, things you can eat and you can't eat, and, you know, a lot of ceremonial stuff. But there's only 20 laws in the Torah regarding diet, okay? Being
Only
kosher.
20?
Only 20. There are over 120 laws regarding conduct in business.
Wow.
Judaism is very, very concerned about business ethics. Because, I mean, when you get down to it, what's the hardest place for you to be a religious person? You know, a person of conscience, an ethical person. It's in business, right? That's where, as they say, the rubber meets the road, right? And to be ethical and still make a living, a decent living. There's always, you know, it's like in tennis, you know, the ball lands on the line. Is it in? Is it out? There's a lot of judgment calls, right? Is this ethical? I know people, you know, some people are just crooked. We know that.
Yeah.
They're, you know, the Madoffs of this world. But I know people who've gotten into trouble by, you know, with the judgment call, you know, and then they got nailed.
Yeah.
You know, you could read the law this way or that way, and there's a lot of money at stake, and you go, you know, and then some hotshot prosecutor decides to go after them. I've seen that. I've had that happen to friends. I've been in, you know, I started investing in real estate over 20 years ago, and for about 15 years I had place, and I was really glad I did, because as a rabbi I can live in my little ivory tower and I can make all sorts of ethical pronouncements. But you know, for people in the real world, they can go, yeah, Rabbi, that's well and good, but you know, in the real world. So I did have some, I had about 15, it was a side, a very, you know, my main thing was being a rabbi, but I had people that weren't paying the rent. Sometimes there was a real hardship, and sometimes they were just irresponsible. And how do you do business, have a heart, and do the right thing, and not be a chump, as they say, right?
Right.
You know, so there were a few times I paid water bills and cut deals with people, you know, and saying, okay, pay me half the rent now, you know, toward the middle of the month. I want to see, just don't ignore me. That was the thing. Don't ignore me. Make an arrangement. You got something wrong, got something going on. But it's really Judaism has a great deal to say about business. I'm going to be bringing it up in a week or so. I wanted to do it last week. I wanted to talk about the Robin Hood, GameStop stuff
saga.
going on.
Still going
did-
on, I think. Still
I
going.
did some research on it, and it was really interesting from a Jewish point of view about inside trading and that sort of thing, and manipulation of the market. And I came across some texts that said, in the Talmudic texts, that said, do not be a hoarder in order to cause a shortage and raise the price.
Really?
Right there, it's there in the
That's
Talmud.
pretty close.
In other words, don't corner the market on something just so you can raise the price. Poshnisht, as our grandparents would say, it's just not done. It's wrong. There were laws about there was a concept, genevat dad. You know what a ganef is?
Ganav, of
Geniva means
We
theft.
grew up with Ghana.
Now,
Oh, it's a Ghana
That's
in Yiddish.
Ganaf in Yiddish, Ganav in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And but it was a different, we all know stealing is just not right. You shouldn't steal. Okay, that's fine. But stealing, the concept of Genevat Da'at is to steal your consciousness, your awareness. I can steal from you by misrepresenting, hiding something in the product that I'm selling you. For example, if I'm a merchant, if I am a grain merchant, I can put all my good grain at the, you buy a big sack of grain, maybe 50 pounds, and you're not going to be able to look through the whole thing. You're going to look at the quality of the grain with a few handfuls on the top. So, if I put all my good high quality grain on top and my broken grain, which can be subject to mold and dampness and stuff
Like
at the bottom.
strawberries today.
And the strawberry, that you go to Publix, you want to look at the strawberries, not on the top. You want to, not allowed. Inside trading, very interesting about inside trading. There was a case in Babylonia. There were a lot of Jews living in Babylon. There were more Jews living in what we call Iraq now than there were in the land of Israel for a long time. So there is a story in the Talmud that there was a drought or famine in that region of Babylonia, and the normal market forces were in operation. No grain. Guess what? The price of bread went up. The rabbis didn't object to that because that's a normal fluctuation in markets. You can't do anything about that. Demand rises, supply lowers. We know that's basic capitalism, right? Okay. Rabbis didn't object, but the merchants became greedier and greedier and started raising the price exorbitantly, and this started to concern the rabbis. It's okay to make a profit, but there is a limit. It turned out that the merchants knew that there was a ship on the way within days of arrival to the city. I guess it was a port city, laden with grain. And you know what was going to happen to the price of grain and flour and bread. It was going to go down, again, raise the supply, the price is going to go down. But they kept it a secret among themselves, right?
Uh-huh.
And they were sticking it to the people, impoverishing the people. People were selling real estate for bread. That's how bad it got. So when the rabbis learned of this, they canceled all of the debts, all those transactions, and they required the merchants to return the money to the purchaser. Insider trading, not allowed. So, another example, we've been talking about rabbinic literature. And when we talk about rabbinic law, we're talking about the Talmud mostly, that it is an expansion of biblical law. In the book of Leviticus, we're simply told to have honest weights. I think it says something like, don't have two sets of weights, one that are real and one that's a little heavier or a little lighter or whatever it
The
is.
butcher's hand.
Yeah, You don't put your thumb on the scale. You have honest weights, right? And honest measures. Uh, um, so the rabbis later on looked at this and they said, well, we need to expand this a little bit, as the rabbis did. And they said that a Jewish merchant was required to clean their weights and scales once a week. Why? I'm slicing corned beef all week, right? And pastrami. There's going to be little bits of the meat that are going to stay on the here or there, right? And they're going to weigh down the scale. So you come in for a pound of pastrami, and I got several grams left over from customers during the week. And guess what? I'm going to charge you, for a pound and a quarter, right? And so the rabbi said, it's not enough just to have honest weights. You have to clean them. You have to clean them. You have to make sure that they're, you have to go the extra mile. I'm reading a book right now that I think, and we're going to get to, we have a small text, so if you bear with me. I'm reading a book right now called The Moral Economy, The Moral Economy. And the author, his name is Boyle, I can't remember his last or his first name. He's a capitalist. He believes in the free enterprise, but he makes the contention that financial incentives sometimes backfire. Financial penalties sometimes backfire. That the only way that you can have an orderly, civilized marketplace is when people buy into civic virtue, right? Civic virtue, which is, okay, I can pass as many laws as I want to make people act in the proper way. But you can always get around laws. That's why we have lawyers, right? The old story, the sign says, private property, no swimming allowed, and the kid gets arrested and taken before the judge, and the judge says, didn't you see the sign? He said, yeah, I saw it. I saw it, Your Honor. It said, private property? No, swimming allowed. It's all how you read it. You can play private property? No, swimming allowed.
That's a good one.
You can, and so so law isn't enough. Civic virtue is important. And civic virtue is really ethical, right? It's ethics. It's not law. The law is important. You have to you have to hold people responsible and discourage them from cheating. But there has to be a sense of ethics in a society. A lot of people don't know this. The first real economist, his name was Adam Smith. You ever hear of Adam Smith?
Yeah, that rings
Wrote a
bell.
book about capitalism in the
Communist
1700s.
Manifesto? Was that the Communist Manifesto?
Oh, no, he was,
Yeah.
Adam Smith was
different.
the capitalism. He talked about the
Capitalist.
invisible hand and how markets adjust naturally, the Wealth of Nations. But he wrote another book before he wrote The Wealth of Nations, which was all about how the economy works. It was called The Theory of Moral Sentiment. Think about it. The first book he writes is about morality. The second book he writes is about economics. And his idea was capitalism is good. It's certainly better than it's better than communism. I'm sort of a mixed economy kind of a guy. I think the government has some role, but the basic thing is the market, it's efficient, sometimes brutally efficient, but you need a moral code. Everybody needs to buy in, or most people. There's always going to be a crook here or there, but when I shake hands with you in a deal, generally it's going to be, there has to be an understanding that I'm going to sell you sugar at a certain price. I'm not going to raise it. And when the bill comes, it's not going to be raised. I might have to eat a little bit of a loss here or there, but an agreement is an agreement. It's called moral virtue. It's called civic virtue. In Judaism, we have the same thing. We understand that all the laws of the Torah you can get around. You can make it into a legal game. You need ethics. Halacha in Talmud is the law. Agada is the lore and sort of the moral lessons. So here's some agada coming at you. Some ethics. One of the very early rabbinic scholars, even before we called our scholars rabbis, this was over 2,000 years ago. His name was Shimon ben Shetach. Ben Shetach was a teacher, and he didn't make a lot of money as a teacher, but he was adored by his students, right? They loved him. He was getting old. He couldn't walk too far, because he was with arthritis, we'll assume. His students got together and bought him a horse. Said, why should the rabbi have to walk? Get him a horse. Buy him a used car. And of course you have to have a saddle on the horse to be able to ride the horse. They buy the horse, and it's interesting that the Talmud mentions that it's an Arab. The seller of the horse or the saddle is an Arab, and it's interesting. An Ishmaelite, another ancient word for an Arab, but he's a non-Jew. So they bring the horse with its saddle to Ben Shetach. Ben Shetach is very happy about it. Thank you, it's so lovely. They leave. A day or two later, he puts his hand to look in the saddlebag. Saddles come with a little bag sometimes to carry stuff. He finds a jewel in it. Doesn't specify whether it's a diamond or a ruby or a pearl, but he finds a jewel. Now, by strict Jewish law, when you acquire something, you acquire everything within it. For example, there's the Talmud says, if I buy a cow from you, okay, and you didn't know the cow was pregnant, and a week after, a calf is born, right? You as the seller can't come to me and say, hey, wait a minute, I only sold you a cow. I did not mean to sell you a calf. Jewish law says, tough. I bought the whole cow. There happened to be a calf in it. Sorry, your SOL, as people would say in some circles, tough noogies.
Yeah.
If I purchase a field from you, and a long time ago, somebody buried some money in a jar in there, right? Under a tree. And I'm plowing and I come across that jar of money. It's mine. I bought the field. It's mine. Okay? That's Jewish law. So, Ben Shetach, just taking that principle, I buy the thing, I have everything adjacent to it or within it. He finds a jewel. What do you think Jewish law would require him to do? Does it require him to return it?
Not technically.
Based on those other examples I gave you?
No.
I would say that the true owners were the people that gave it to him as a gift. And maybe he should return it to them.
But that's kind of nice thinking. I'm just saying legal thinking.
Oh, legally doesn't have to.
Legally? He doesn't have to. Nobody can force him to. That Arab guy can come and say, listen,
I didn't know.
I forgot, I forgot. I put it in there and I forgot, or I don't have to return it to him. So what does shetachtu. What does ben shetachtu? He returns it to the Arab. He returns it, knowing that the seller had no intention of selling him the jewel. He just sold a horse and a saddle with the saddlebag.
He returned it.
So there was something beyond the law, higher than the law itself. Ethics. Again, you can't force someone to be ethical. You can force someone to be legal, but you can't force someone to be ethical. In our religious tradition, again, we can't force someone to, I mean, the rabbis were logical about this. They knew human nature well enough to know that you can't force someone to do the ethical
The
thing,
right
but
thing.
they highly encouraged it with stories like this. In the Bible, it's very interesting. There are some kind of ethical pronouncements. There are some laws that are given, sort of quasi-laws that are basically unenforceable. Inevitably or frequently, those particular laws that are kind of unenforceable, that you really need to depend on the person's decency, are followed by the following words. I am Adonai, your God. Okay? Most of the laws don't have that. I am Adonai, your God. And those ones that really depend on you being a decent person, you have this. It's sort of saying, listen, I know what you're doing. This is important to me. I can't even I, God, I'm not going to force you to do it, but I want you to remember that this is divine will. The ethics as well as the law. So I think that, okay. So any questions so far?
It's interesting though, I spent most of my career selling medical equipment, surgical,
Yeah.
medical into hospitals. And you come across people that, say my product does this, that, and the other thing. And because it was medical, I said, I'm not selling shoes. I'm selling surgical stuff. How can you not tell the truth about, I couldn't sell a product that I didn't think worked right.
Yeah.
And it was just in my head that, people say, oh, I'm a salesman, I could sell anything.
The people that sold the Vicodin
Mm-hmm.
and the what's the other one?
Oh, I know which
Whatever
one
it
you
is.
mean.
Oxycontin.
Cotton.
Yeah, I had I don't know if you remember, those of you who've known me during the last 10 years, I took a terrible fall in Seattle on a trip. I came back, my arm was in a sling. You may remember I had a comminuted fracture, partially torn rotator cuff, and a dislocation. It was pretty painful. Took about 6 months to heal. And so they gave me Oxycontin.
Yeah, which worked for a short.
Let me tell you, I took 800. They gave me the Tylenol, the 800 millimeter and milligram, and often the Tylenol just didn't work. I would lie at night and my shoulder would sort of hurt me. If I lay on it, it was like a knife going through. So I would take an Oxycontin and I would sleep beautifully. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'd go, this is dangerous. This feels so good. I'm not going to take it for another. I'm not going to take it for several days. I'll muscle through it. And then the pain would get bad. And by the end of 6 months, I had a month's worth. I still had half of them left. It's that addictive. I could see how this could be a problem. And if salespeople knew this, and people were making a ton of money.
Well, they were selling it for things that they weren't supposed to sell it for.
Now, I don't know when it became clear that this was a problem. I remember in the 1990s when it started coming into, I listened to, the studies, and the studies were, unless, if you're in real pain, you're never going to get addicted to this stuff. It's only if you play with it, and
Right.
it wasn't true. It just wasn't true. Now, if you were a salesperson and you were making a ton of money and there were incentives
So,
for doctors that you made, that would be a terrible thing. This is where the rubber meets the road. You're making a good living. You have a family to support. You have a mortgage. And you're going to go to the company and say, listen, I've seen the new studies. I'm not selling this anymore. They probably would give you your walking papers, right? Okay, you can sell Tylenol from now on, but the real money is in.
don't say Tylenol, it's a different company.
Okay, whatever it is. You would probably be put on, you would take a couple of steps down the ladder of your career. I mean, there's no question. Did you have the strength of character to do that? That's a tough thing. That is a very tough thing. Okay, so let us, can you see this?
No,
See what?
Oh, you can't see
no
it.
print.
Okay.
no print.
Okay, just wait a moment, and let's see if I can do this. I'm going to share a screen with you, and you can still see me, right?
Yes,
Okay, here we go. Okay, can you see that?
not yet.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Don't worry. I just want to
You
make
don't
sure
see
you
it
can.
at all.
You can't see it at all?
No,
Nobody can see it?
Nothing.
Okay,
Finished. Nothing.
let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can bring this over here. I've never really figured this one out. Okay. Can't see that, huh?
nope.
Hmm.
Done it before, Rabbi. You've shown us things.
I know. How do
It's crazy,
do-
these computers.
I know?
Okay, yes,
Sometimes I can do it. Sometimes I can't.
Get the right button. Get the right button.
You
That's
want me to get Bruce?
Yeah, Bruce probably will know in a second. He's very tech.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bruce, you got a minute? Let's see if he can help you.
Yeah, he's good.
Okay.
Sit here. The rabbi's trying to show us something in a different screen. He doesn't know how to do it. Do you know how to do that on Zoom?
I do it sometimes. It's a catch can, I think they say. What's
So
that?
you've done it a lot. You've done it a
I've
lot.
done it before, and sometimes I can do it, sometimes I
It's done
can't.
from his end.
Yeah, he's doing it from his end, but he
Yeah.
can see it, but we can't. Do you know how to switch it on?
Okay. See, I'm going to screen share. I have
Screen
this.
share what you've got there.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I think I may have it here. Baba Matzia.
There you
Okay,
go.
can you see
You
it now?
got it.
You got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got to bring it a little bit over here.
What did you touch? What did you do? So we'll know.
Oh,
for the
I don't know.
future.
I'll never
You don't
remember.
even know. I know. I go
Okay.
through that all the time.
I just press buttons until it
Marilyn,
happens, and then
it's-
I can't remember what
share.
I did.
A screen
Okay.
share, you think? Okay.
It's
good.
screen share. It's definitely screen share.
Okay,
So
good.
I don't. Okay, maybe I can. Okay,
Little bigger,
see if I can make it
for me
bigger here.
anyway, bigger.
Okay, just see if
Look
you
at
can
it.
read it, squint, and I'll read it for you. This is from Baba Matzia. This is about buying on consignment.
Aha.
Okay,
Baba
so it
Matzia.
says, this is from Baba Matzia. No one may provide a shopkeeper with goods to sell under an agreement to take half the profit. No one may give a shopkeeper money to buy produce under an agreement to take half the profits unless the shopkeeper is paid his wages as a laborer out of the profits before division. No one may put his eggs to hatch under another man's hens under conditions of sharing the profits or giving his calves or foals to another to rear under the condition of sharing the profits unless the owner of the hens or feedlots is paid the wages of a laborer and the cost of food for the animals out of the profit. So what are we doing? Should I read it again?
No, I don't, well, not for me.
Okay, so what do you think? What's the Talmudic law here? What's the principle and how might we apply this to modern day business? What's the principle here?
It's a commission. You have to pay a commission.
Okay, but look at what it's saying. The commission
Yeah.
is pure commission allowed in the Talmud. Hiring somebody, whether it's a shopkeeper on consignment or a salesperson, we're going to share the profits if they come in, and I'm using some resource of yours.
But there's
What do you
like
think?
consignment shops where you give something to somebody and they tell you in advance, I take 10% and you get the rest.
Okay, here it's 50%.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
Sharing the profits.
So, if they're talking about, I'm just looking at this, and if they're talking about consignment, that's such a normal thing nowadays. You have a store, I have a product. I let you hold my whatever I'm selling, and you got, we'll share the profit. But one thing I do have a problem though with is hiring people on commission only.
Yeah.
I find that somewhat questionable. There are companies who will hire you commission only, and they don't even pay for your gas that you're driving around. They might give you a list of possible customers, but that's it. The Talmud, I would say, is frowning on that because it says what you have to do to the shopkeeper, and I would make this the salesperson, unless he's paid wages as a laborer. Now I can see if it's commission but I should pay you at least some
Laborer's salary.
some kind of minimum wage or something. But there are a lot of companies, a lot of jobs saying make $10,000 a month, and you go to them and it's commission only, and it's going to.
Is it down with Mike? Serena just called me.
Oh, should I tell Marilyn?
I think so, yes.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
Sue Kaminsky died last night.
What?
Yes. I'm sorry, Rabbi. This
Oh
is
my God.
Who
Oh
passed?
my God. A neighbor from the COVID. She's been in the hospital 2 weeks, Rabbi.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Baruch atah Adonai
Oh my
Dayan Amen.
God.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
my
What was this person's name?
Sue Kaminsky.
She was
Sue
from New
Kaminsky.
Jersey, and
Yeah.
she used to come back and forth
I think,
Wow.
has she ever been to the temple?
occasionally.
Occasionally she comes to town, but you could do it for us and we'll send a donation.
Oy, Gewalt.
Well, is she married?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and her husband is not in great shape either. He just got over the COVID. Both of them
Oh
had
my
it, Rabbi.
God. Oh my God.
She
The
was in the
son's-
hospital and
Oh.
he was home. Oh
That's-
my God.
That's what
Oh, my goodness.
Serena
How
just
old a,
called.
how old a person
Yeah,
was?
Serena just called and Bruce took the call, so
How
I
old
give
was
up.
she?
we don't know exactly. I mean, in her
Mordecai
late
said
80s.
she had to be even close to the 90s. She was up there, but she was gorgeous,
And
like a
full of
model.
pep.
like a model. Brilliance. Ay, gewalt. Oh my God.
Oh, geez,
Children.
what an
Ay,
insidious
ay, ay.
disease. I'm
When is this
sorry.
Mara gonna go over, Rabbi? What are we gonna do?
Well, tell if you run into her
Ay,
husband,
ay,
We
ay.
will.
let him know that I'm here if he
Okay.
needs
Right.
me
Thank you. Thank
for a funeral
Ay,
or
I
for
can't
some
believe-
memorial service or something, or
Oh
just to
my
talk.
God.
I'm here for him.
Oh my.
So, oh, boy.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I should have waited till the end, but
No, it's
it just
okay.
hit me.
It's all right. The rabbi is a good person to be with under these unfortunate circumstances. Ay,
Ah, boy, it takes my breath away.
Well, I
right?
was just, I've been texting with her in the hospital because she had trouble breathing, but she wasn't in ICU. So I was just gonna text her when we got off the
You know,
call.
here's the thing, and I hope you're all getting your,
That's probably
trying
my
to get
fault
your-
now.
Yeah, try and
Yeah,
get
that's
your,
her. That's her. I'll
you
just
know,
let
the,
her I know. I'll be right
it can,
back.
it can also bring on things that are underlying, you know?
Mhm.
I know somebody who may have been
Hello.
showing some signs of dementia, and she had COVID last summer, and she got very foggy in her thinking. And now she's been, and you know, she's obviously testing negative,
I'll call you right back.
but she's like
Yeah.
been diagnosed with dementia. So just don't get it. Do whatever you
No.
can. Just don't get it. People go, well, lots of people get it and it's nothing. Listen, the son of one of our congregants, the son is in his mid 40s. I saw him yesterday. He dropped something off to our new house. He had COVID again last summer. He's about 80% back as a young man. Taste, smell, still not there. Another congregant of ours had it last February, very early. And I think it's cleared up now, but between December and a big chunk of January, he said, he thought by, October he was fine, November he was fine. He thought, and it'd been, been several months, he hadn't felt great. He said he could smell burned toast all the time. It was this, and he knows it had to be the COVID because the smell went. And he said it came back, and then all he could smell, I think he's okay now, during December and most of last month was burned toast. Isn't that weird?
Oh,
So
God.
the effects can be very lingering.
Crazy. My nephew had it. His lungs are still affected. It's
Yeah.
not the same. Yeah, everybody gets it unfortunately different. Oh God.
Okay.
Terrible. Terrible.
Okay. So
Sorry,
I'm gonna
terrible.
read the commentary. I'm gonna go down to the third paragraph.
1 second. Bruce, you want to call Serena back for me?
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
it's so nice to see Hinda there in San Francisco near the Golden Gate Bridge. You can put these backgrounds behind you.
Rabbi, how is your wife doing? We haven't talked about Marilyn at all.
My Marilyn is doing well. Yeah,
Thank God.
she's having a great time decorating our new house.
Oh.
And we can't have anybody over yet, but soon
But you're
we will.
happy there? You're happy in
Yeah.
the new place?
We really liked our community in East Hollywood, but we had a corner lot, and it was the house was built in 1957.
So
We
a lot
fixed it
to
up
do.
really nice. Marilyn did a beautiful job fixing it up, and and the between us, the market got very hot here, right around the
That's what
synagogue.
I heard, right.
So we sold it at a good time and we bought a townhouse. We're right on Emerald Hills Country Club.
Wow,
Our
that
property
sounds
backs up on the 16th hole, I think it is. And there's a
beautiful.
lake there and you know,
Oh,
once in a while, I got a screened in lanai. Once in a while, you'll hear a ball hit the roof, but you know, I can live with it. So I might even take up golf. I don't know. So this thing about, you know, about having people work on consignment or commission, we see that the Talmud has a problem with it. Behind these laws, I'm going to read from, I'm going to start at the, you know, at the commentary under the line. I'm going down to the bottom paragraph on the left. Behind these laws is the Jewish idea that work is necessary, that work is noble, even holy. You know, what does it say? 6 days you shall labor. You know, the laws about the Sabbath include the laws about work. You know, work, be productive. It's a good thing. It's a holy thing. Work is both a requirement and a gift from God. The rabbis interpret the Lord God took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. Adam could not eat until he had worked. They pointed out that even God labored. He rested from all his work that he had done, right? So even God works. Work's a good thing. If work is so important, then the value of work, what we get out of it and what we get from it, is equally as important. To deprive a worker of the fruits of his labor is a transgression. The laborer must not be cheated of his pay, neither must he be forced to work for nothing. Most particularly, the worker must not be asked to gamble on his wages. Now, you know, there's an
What does that
exception to every
mean?
rule.
What does that mean?
You know, if you look at the entrepreneurs, you know, I guess there's an exception to every rule. I understand what's behind this. You know, I shouldn't have somebody work for me all day on the basis of, you know, whatever I make, I'll give you a cut, right? I have a food truck, okay? And I need somebody to help me.
Okay.
And I hire this guy. He's a poor guy. And I say, come and ride in the truck with me. And when I'm flipping the burgers in the back, you'll take the orders from the customers. And at the end of the day, I'll give you a third or a quarter of the profits. Okay? No,
Yeah.
because I might not make anything. The poor guy is going to work all day for me for nothing. Hosh nicht.
No wages, just profit.
The point of this Mishnah, and this was from the Mishnah part of the Talmud from Baba Metzia, the owner of cattle or fowl or land cannot ask the farmer to raise these animals or work the land on a gamble. The owner cannot say, if the animals grow well and the price is right when they are sold, then the worker will be paid. What if the animals die or the price has fallen? Then the worker has labored for nothing. The Mishnah says, if you want to gamble on the profits, okay, but only after you have paid the laborer his wages. You know, as the entrepreneur, as the boss, you're going into business, you have to make a budget. You know, you have a certain amount of money that you put aside for inventory, maybe the facility, if it's a retail place, or you got a storage, transportation. You also have to put into the budget labor, right? You know, and when you're planning your business, don't you know, you have to pay the FPL for your electricity, to run your air conditioning, your refrigerator room, to keep your fruits and vegetables fresh, that's a built-in cost. Well, you know, you're going to need 1 or 2 workers. That's a built-in cost too. So we see that the Talmud gets a little specific here, and it's trying to be fair. Let's see.
What does
The
it
same
say
for-
again? What does it say?
Okay, the same principle holds when the owner of goods or money offers them to the storekeeper or salesman who will use his or her strength, skill, and labor to sell them. Before any division of the profits, you must pay the worker his wages. Okay, so I understand commission, but it seems to me that somebody should get, what do you call it, Hinda, a draw? They should get a
Some
draw.
have a draw. I mean,
Huh?
I always, when I was, the bottom level it was the salary plus commission. So if you sold
Salary-
more, you made more.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
a basic, but you know what? This reminds me of, at that time, things, it was mostly produce and, goods and services that weren't what we have today. It's sort of like trying to interpret the Constitution that was written
Yeah,
in 1779.
exactly. It's
Exactly.
exactly. What we're doing here is exactly that. We're looking at it as a constitution, and now,
Right.
and you're right. We're not farmers. We have businesses and we conduct ourselves in the modern marketplace. But do the principles still hold? I think
Right.
they do.
Yes,
a
you don't take
constitution-
half, so you pay them 3/4 of a wage and then you get a quarter on the profits.
Yeah,
Or what we sell.
when I was going to college, I drove cab.
Yeah.
And it was a 40-60 arrangement with the company.
Mm.
It was pure commission. But I did okay.
Yeah.
They got me, we had we had a dispatcher and they got me lots of rides. I always liked those rides to the airport because I would
That's a
make more.
different kind of work that this is talking about.
Yeah.
It's
But there
not
were
a-
days-
Not merchandise, it's a service.
Yeah, but then there were days when, that just
Nobody took a
I didn't
cab.
make them. Nobody took a
And
cab.
you
I'd
didn't
sit
make
there.
anything.
Yeah, there were days when I just didn't make anything. When I was going to school, I liked working in December because people were shopping and, I would, when I was going to school, it was a good experience.
But that's not ethical in the Talmud, what we just said. right?
Yeah, the Talmud would have a problem with that. The Talmud would say, I think, here we are, we're a Beit Din. Okay? You're all and you were asked to come out with, it was the Silver Spring Taxi Company, okay? So our rabbinic Beit Din, our rabbinic court, is asked to comment on their practice of a 60-40 cut. Actually, I think we got 60, but we didn't have to pay for the gas. That was a good thing.
And it was their
We could
car.
keep it was their cab, but there were days when we might not make anything. And the question would be asked of us, what does Judaism have to say about it? I think we would go to Baba Metzia and other texts, and we would say, well, what's the principle behind this? We're not talking about, eggs and ducks and
Yeah.
geese and that stuff. We're talking about almost pure commission on a day in which I wouldn't get paid anything.
Right.
What would the Talmud say? I think it's clear. I
No
should get,
good. No
I
good.
would think that the Talmud would say I should get some kind of guarantee. It could be a minimum wage, something,
Right,
right?
right.
but I should be able to go home. If I'm a day laborer, I should be able to go and pay for my meals that day. Nobody should work for nothing.
But say today, the government would say you're an independent contractor.
Yes. Isn't that terrible? That's why, if you push me, well, listen, I grew up in the kibbutz movement, so I was a pinko communist growing up. Then I became a capitalist. Then then I became an investor in real estate and had a mortgage and a pension fund. So I always, what you do as you get older and you actually have something to lose. You go, oh, that's socialism business, not so sure. But I am sympathetic to people who have less than I do, and I think about the entire society. Earlier this week, I think it was NPR. I heard or maybe I was on some podcast that I was listening to. Somebody was recently, the person was recently in Denmark and talking. They have McDonald's in Denmark, right? They have McDonald's. McDonald's is everywhere. Well, a person working in McDonald's in Denmark gets the equivalent of $20 an hour, has full medical coverage, and I would assume, I don't remember if they mention it, but if they happen to be a woman, you get, what do you call it, childcare leave, and they get 6 weeks paid vacation a year. And the person was saying, they were explaining what happens in America if you work for McDonald's. You get no benefits. And you can work for minimum wage. In some places, it's less than minimum wage. Minimum wage in America is $7.25 an hour. And the person working at McDonald's in Denmark, I don't know if it's Copenhagen or where it was, said, I really feel sorry for you Americans, especially the people who work at McDonald's.
That's socialism, right?
Well, it's a mixed economy. So I don't eat often at McDonald's. I'll sneak in once in a while for some fries or a chocolate milkshake. I like a chocolate milkshake. But do I really care? Can't we afford? This is a question that I would have. So we raise the minimum wage. And a Big Mac costs 35, 40 cents more than it does now. Is that going to kill anybody? Is that going to kill off business just so the person behind the counter can actually pay for rent?
But that's in that business. But the other businesses, when they have a lot of people working for them and they're paying them the $15.
I mean, the argument is we will reduce the number of jobs out there. I have a feeling it might even increase the number of jobs.
Really?
If people have more money to spend,
They'll put it back in the economy.
they'll put it back in the economy. Listen, I do, if taxes are a little bit higher, it's not going to kill me. I mean, don't make them too high, then I'll start complaining. But if there are a lot of people who are hungry right now. A lot of people are being evicted. A lot of people who work 40 hours a week and they can't afford to pay their rent and I go, and another statistic, and I've heard it many times before. I heard it again this week about the stock market. I have money in the stock market. I'm not a day trader or anything, but I got a pension fund. So, hey, I can't complain. Stock market, for me, it's good. Stock market's great. It's going up every day. The fact of the matter is 80% of the shares on the stock market in America today are controlled, owned by 1% of the population. So the stock market goes up and we have people on breadlines. The 1%, I'm not in the 1%. I guess I'm in that 20% who own some stock, but I certainly don't own a lot. Is it fair? And is it good? Is it moral? Will it lead to, I think it leads to a very unstable society. And Judaism, believe it or not, and as we get into business ethics a little bit, takes a look at that, the distribution of wealth. It's not a good thing when you have a small number of extremely wealthy people. And Jeff Bezos now has $200 billion billion. That's a fifth of $1 trillion. And my wife was at a party with him when he only had a few hundred million. She said, I could have been the first Mrs. Bezos. You know that, I said, yeah, but he's short and he's bald. I don't know.
But there's other things, like he has built and put tons and tons of people to work at decent wages.
Yes, you can say and listen,
Now, Walmart,
I
he only would hire part-time people for years, under 30 hours, so they wouldn't have to pay benefits.
yeah, he was not good about benefits.
Yeah.
Walmart is another one. The
Rabbi?
Walmart. Yeah.
I have a question. Hinda, I'm confused. The reason I know very little, I have a stockbroker. I don't pay attention to it. I make a little bit. I'm very satisfied. Okay. The
Right.
bottom line is, from what you just said, does that mean that the very, very wealthy, before they even had a stock market or bought stocks, you had to be very wealthy to get all of this proportion, and only 20% of the population, the other 20% like regular people, but the beginners were rich to start with? That's my question.
Well, you have to go back and read about the Great Depression, where they're doing just what they did with, and I'm sorry, Rabbi, you could explain it maybe better, but they're doing just what they did with this stock. They bought a margin. They only had to put $1, 10% down on the price of stock. So if you're buying a $50 share, it only costs you $5.
But if you had money in the Depression, you would have that.
No, I'm saying, so a lot of people wanted to make money. They bought it. And then if somebody called it in, the company can call it in, the broker can call it in. You have to pay the $45 to make your money. They didn't have it.
I have advice on how to make a small fortune.
Yeah.
You listening? Write this down. Want a small fortune? Start with a big one.
Yeah. Very good.
You just need a little margin. If you have $1 million and you put it in the stock market and it moves 0.2%, you've made thousands of dollars in that
Some
day.
of them are the
But you're
big.
going to have $1 million to begin with.
That would be the 80%. I don't understand it well, Hind. I know you do, but it's not comprehensible. But money to make money.
There's a huge pension fund in California called CalPERS.
Called what?
CalPERS. They own the California.
CalPERS.
They handle all the government workers, all the teachers. It's all in one big firm. They handle the pension funds, so they can buy a stock, say at $50.
Yes.
And they can sell it the next day if it goes up $2, because they bought 100.
So much.
They bought so much that they have that extra money put away. So if you're a small investor in the same stock, you see it go up and down because of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pension funds that are in there too.
Well, you know what? When capitalism really works, it creates something, right? You have a company and it's up and coming. And I look at I'm not good at this. I get somebody else to look at it. But let's say I look at your prospectus and I go, this is a well-run company. The numbers are there. The market is there. It needs a bit of capital. It's going to do well. And so I buy your stocks, and you have and it gives your company more money to, initially it gives your company more money to invest in infrastructure, whatever it is. But then the bad thing about capitalism is when I go and sell that stock, you sell me stock, I'm giving you money as the entrepreneur. And now I sell my stock to somebody else. And it's a bet. Now it becomes like Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. It doesn't create anything. It's a gamble, and there can be all sorts of short sales, shorting, and what you had a short squeeze, with the GameStop. I'm going to explain.
What's a short scale? I'm totally ignorant.
Marilyn, don't ask because it's too long an answer.
Okay,
I have to look at.
I'll have to take a course, but at this point,
I-
I think I can live without it.
In a couple of weeks, I'm going to explain it on a Friday night what a short sale is. And believe me, I would never do it because it just seems like such a gamble and
A lot of
and you
gambling, a lot of gambling. it
That's what
sounds
and then
like.
it's all gambling. It's got nothing. Capitalism could get to the point where they're trading money, they're trading stocks, and it's got nothing to do. GameStop is an
That's the
ailing
biggie now,
retail outlet for video games. Nobody goes to the store. I'm not a video game player,
You
kids
know,
are, but apparently they don't go to stores anymore to buy their video games. You download them. So
Right.
they've closed 1,000 of their stores apparently.
right?
And so people have been buying up their stocks and running them up because the hedge funds have been betting against. It's complicated.
Yeah,
But anyway,
you sell short, you buy on the fact that the market's going to go down.
yes. And then I return the stock.
Yeah.
I've bought it at a low price. You got to give me, the high price. I make a tidy profit, and I haven't created anything. I haven't contributed to the economy. It's just, and the Talmud, I don't think our religious tradition thinks much of it. The first part of capitalism we like. The second part, all the manipulations, no. Okay,
So
next
does
week
Tom
we're
would
going.
say no gambling. That's my last question. Like in Las Vegas,
The
is that
rabbis,
permissible gambling. I have
a
no
little bit
idea.
within reason. Some gambling is allowed within reason.
The horse races. Okay.
You
We'll
can
talk
play,
about that.
there isn't a
Okay.
Jewish group of men that don't play pinochle for money during the week or something.
Okay, we're going to talk about a bailee. A bailee is someone who looks after something for you, someone who stores something for you. And what happens if there's a fire or something like that? We're going to look into that next week. Okay. See you. This was fun.
Stay well, and rest if you don't feel great after the shot.
Going to
Stay
do
well.
that. Good advice. Thanks.
Mwah,
Catch you
mwah, mwah.
later.